How's it going, everyone? This is Mitchellmander here, and wow, it's already been a year already. Time flies, that's for sure. Anyways, yes, today is the 1-year anniversary of the beginning of the Pokemon Journeys, or as it's known in Japan, Pocket Monsters anime, starring Ash and Go. And it's been quite a year. So, let's talk about the series and how it's been in its first year. So, in this video, I'm going to be talking about what I feel are the pros and cons of the series. After I do that, I'm going to talk about what I want to see going into the future of the series, especially in the year 2, and what I hopefully want to see change in the series. So yeah, we'll get into that in just a second. Anyways, if you're new to the channel, you like this type of content, be sure to like and subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Anyways, let's get on to this video, shall we? Pro number 1, the Duo Protagonist aspect of Pokemon Journeys. Now this is something that grabbed my attention from the very start. The first Pokemon series focusing on 2 main characters, and sometimes I see this as a direct response to the large cast of characters that Sun and Moon had. And now, while I like a lot of the characters from Sun and Moon and I appreciate them, I can acknowledge that some of the characters didn't exactly get enough focus or growth during the series, like Mallow for example. But back to Journeys. We have a Duo Protagonist Format this time around. And yes, I say protagonist because Go is the first main character that is considered a protagonist alongside Ash instead of just a traveling companion. This I feel was a great decision by the studio, as by doing this, Go's goal and its focus in the series is just as important and prominent as Ash's goal and focus. So, awesome! In a previous series, characters like Dawn, Serena, and Lillie had prominent roles, but ultimately these were secondary focuses to Ash's goals, because the story mainly focused on him and his goals. Here, this isn't the case anymore, as Go's goals and focus are just as important as Ash's. And by doing this, Go as a character has received some of the most development and focus out of any character besides Ash himself. This kid, for example, went from being a stubborn, narrow-minded kid who focused solely on catching Mew as his main goal. He was also very terrible at Pokemon battles. And now look at him. He's a kid that's opened up to many people. He's gained more friendships besides Ash and Koharu. He's grown to love Pokemon through capturing a lot of them, and has even become a pretty good battler, thanks to hanging out with Ash. And this was all in the span of the first year of the show. Imagine how he'll develop as the series goes on. That's pretty crazy to think about. Pro number 2 in Pokemon Journeys is Ash and Go traveling to all regions. At least all currently available regions as of Generation 8. Now this is probably the biggest surprise going into this series, as I never thought we'd be revisiting older regions besides Kanto. But here we are. In Journeys, Ash and Go are made research fellows for the Sakuragi Labs. And because they are research fellows, they are allowed to go on multiple trips across the Pokemon world to conduct research at various places. This to me gives this series a ton of potential. We can not only go to older regions again, but we can visit old places again, go to parts of the region that were either only explored a little bit or not at all. We could meet previous companions, rivals, or other characters from older series, and even meet characters that Ash never actually met in the previous series, like Elite Four members, or even characters like, I don't know, Hilbert and Hilda. That'd be pretty awesome if they showed up and Ash met them. Just saying. I think that this concept here is the best way the series can bring back any past characters back to the series. And I mean any character. We've already got several characters return like Lance, Karina and her grandpa, Chuck from Johto, the Alola gang minus Gladion and Lillie. Then again, Gladion and Lillie were still shown, though Ash didn't meet them. And we could see many more familiar faces pop up at any time in this series. So be on the lookout for your favorite characters to return. And to me, I think that this is ultimately a great idea if this is indeed either the final series of the anime or Ash's last journey. Not only is this a great way to wrap up storylines for previous characters, but it can wrap up Ash's story as well, as we can see him taking on even stronger trainers that, in an older series, he would stand virtually no chance against, but in Journeys he could potentially prevail against, like Tobias, Alon, or champions like Cynthia. It would be quite poetic to see Ash take on previous opponents that either took him down or he stood no chance against in a previous series, and then he wins here. That would be amazing. That, to me, would be the right step in the right direction for Ash's character at this point. And even though the traveling to all regions hurts the focus on Galar, this format lends a huge amount of unpredictability to the series. And speaking of unpredictability, pro number 3, the unpredictability of Pokemon Journeys. If there is one thing that is hard to predict, it is this series. It is sometimes hard to tell where the series is going at times, as it could go in any direction. We could go to Sinnoh and Go catches a bunch of Pokemon there. We could have an episode where we go to Hoenn and Ash meets somebody he hasn't met in a long time, like a former companion, or a rival, or just a gym leader. We could go to Johto and Ash faces off against a gym leader there. Like, there is so much stuff that this series could do. And at this point, the possibility of any old companion returning is at an all-time high. That is crazy. Go himself is pretty unpredictable as well, because he wants to capture every single Pokemon before capturing Mew. So, we could go to any of these regions and he could capture any Pokemon in these episodes. He'll capture 1 to 2 or 3 per episode. So, any Pokemon could be caught. Maybe not legendaries so much, but any Pokemon besides legendaries have a chance of being caught by this kid. And that goes anywhere, any region we go to. But besides Go's captures, Ash's captures in this series has been completely unpredictable. And I think that's great. If you told me a year ago when this series started that Ash would capture a Dragonite, and it would be his first capture in this series, I would have laughed right in your face. I wouldn't have believed a word you said to me. But here we are. We also had Ash and Go face off against Zapdos, and Go nearly caught this Pokemon? That's insane. We also have the two facing off against Mewtwo, and it's the Mewtwo from the very first movie. And the list goes on. So it's safe to say that literally anything could happen at this point. I mean, Rainbow Rocket is also not off the table. So yeah, I like that anything could potentially happen in the series. I love it. It's hard to predict at times, but that's the great thing about it, because you just never know what's going to happen. Pro number 4. The Pokemon World Champions, or World Coronation Series as it's known in the dub. And oh boy, I saved the best for last. This is my favorite thing from this series, and it's the right direction to take Ash's character following his victory in the Alola League. I love the Pokemon World Champions concept. So, just to briefly explain what this is all about, the Pokemon World Champions or World Coronation Series is pretty much a ranking-based tournament that is conducted seasonally. It is divided into 4 different classes, those being the normal class, which consists of any trainer ranked below 1000 and is represented by a Pokeball. The Great class, which consists of any trainer ranked between rank 100 and 999 and is represented by a Great Ball. The Ultra class, which consists of characters ranked between rank 9 and 99 and is represented by an Ultra Ball. And lastly, we have the Master class, consisting of the top 8 competitors in the world and is represented by a Master Ball. And I have to say, I love this concept a lot. Instead of going through the old tradition of Ash challenging the 8 gym leaders of the region and the current region he's traveling, and then going to face off against a bunch of competitors in the Pokemon League, we're instead facing off against trainers from all over the world, and not just the current region. In the Pokemon World Champions, everybody starts out at the bottom and must work their way up to the top. So normal trainers, gym leaders, Elite Four members, and even champions are seen as equals from the time they enter. You have to start at the bottom and work your way up to the top. And I have to say, this was a fantastic idea. And just like I mentioned before, any characters has the possibility of returning. With that said, any of Ash's previous rivals gym leaders in the series he's faced off against, any Elite Four members or regional champions may actually end up being an opponent that Ash has to face off against in the future. The fact that this is even remotely possible is crazy, but man, does this bring so much potential to this series. Now, moving on to what I consider the cons of Pokemon Journeys. So con number 1, the episodic format. And let's get this elephant out of the room right off the bat, as a lot of people have this same issue. So if you've been watching Pokemon Journeys from the beginning, you'll notice that this series has a lot more episodic episodes than any previous series. In fact, it's predominantly episodic. This is because this was the intention for the series from the very beginning. So if you don't know, the director, at least I believe it's the director of the series, gave an interview before the series came out stating that this series would be more episodic than any previous series due to the series airing on Sundays, which has since moved to Fridays. And any arcs within the series would be limited to no more than 2 episodes. So yeah, I fundamentally disagree with this decision, as it forces almost all the episodes to conclude their plot lines in a single episode. And to me, this is probably the biggest issue I have with this series. Now I will say that there are episodes that do work in an episodic format. For example, any of the episodes that center around the Sakuragi lab work well in an episodic format. However, we are traveling to every region, with the exception of the Galar episodes, all of which these trips have been at least 2 episodes, and are not singular. There are times where it feels like these trips need to be a lot longer or expanded to at least 2 episodes. 2 episodes that come to mind that needed to be longer than a single episode are the Ash vs. Karina episode, which I believe is episode 25, and the Return to Alola episode, which was episode 37. Now with Ash vs. Karina, the build up to Ash meeting up with Karina before the fight, and the fight itself, it felt all really rushed. It was not very fleshed out very well. And then we have the Alola episode, which, while I still enjoyed that episode, it also felt very rushed at certain points in the episode. And it felt like there was just so much more they could have done here with this Return to Alola if it were expanded into 2 episodes instead of being contained to just a singular episode. And yes, I feel like the Return to Kalos and the Return to Alola should have been 2 episodes. Like, imagine if the Ash vs. Karina episode was split into 2 episodes, and the first episode ends in a cliffhanger. Or in the Alola episode, it does what it did in the first episode, and then we also have a second episode where Ash and the others go to another island in Alola and spend time with other characters we didn't get much time with in the first episode. For example, we didn't really spend a whole lot of time with Ash's Pokemon, so maybe in the second episode, we spend more time with these Pokemon and maybe Ash commands them in battle. So yeah, I'm not really too fond of the episodic format in Pokemon Journeys. Con number 2, Koharu's screen time. So as you know, I consider the duo aspect in Pokemon Journeys to be a great thing and a great addition to the series. The problem though is that Koharu exists in Pokemon Journeys. Now you may be thinking to yourself, Mitchelmander, Koharu is your queen. You want her to be a main character. How could you let your queen down and put her in the cons section here? Now let's put all jokes aside. Now I like Koharu as a character. And I know some people don't really like her very much. And I know there's somebody that's been in my comment section on a few videos that has been very vocal about not liking Koharu. So if you are watching this video, what's up? But I don't mind her. I like her personality and I think it works well with Ash and Go. However, unlike past Pokegirls, Koharu is treated as a side character, so she doesn't get as much screen time as prior Pokegirls for this reason. Now, I mentioned this in a video I made earlier this year titled, Should Koharu be a main character or support character in Pokemon Journeys? You should check that out sometime, by the way. I'll have it linked somewhere in this video, but that's besides the point. But in that video, I mentioned the fact that I don't like that we have this character that's the same age as Ash and Go. And also, she's a childhood friend of Go's. And she just doesn't get the screen time I feel she deserves. She's just treated as a supporting character. And as a result, she just doesn't get a lot of screen time. She'll have these focus episodes from time to time, which so far all of them have been pretty good. But then she'll disappear after it for like 4 or 5 episodes. and then make a brief appearance again, then she'll have another focus episode, and then she'll disappear again. And this is all very frustrating to me. But while that is frustrating, we also have the duo aspect right in front of us in Pokemon Journeys. And I really like it. I like the fact that this series mainly focuses on Ash and Go. So, all of this makes me conflicted about her. Yes, she's my queen. Gotta stand the queen. But unfortunately, this is how the series operates. So, there are times where I'm so conflicted about Koharu and her stance in this series that there are times where I wonder where she should even exist or not. Yeah. So, unfortunately, Koharu is one of those characters where I love her, but her presence in the series, it causes a lot of issues. So yeah. Con number 3. Go's goal. Now this one will come as a bit of a surprise, considering in the pros section I talked about how Go's goal in the series is being treated equally to Ash's goal, and I think that's a good thing. However, let's actually talk about Go's actual goal here, and why I consider it a con at the moment. Now, looking at his initial goal, I was actually quite intrigued by it. Go's original goal was to capture Mew, a goal that he was fixated on for at least 4 years. And I have to say I do like this goal a lot, as it's very unique and different from a lot of other characters in the series. Like Brock, who wants to be a Pokemon doctor, May and Dawn, who want to be top coordinators, or Sophocles, who wants to be an astronaut. This goal, however, was altered when Go met and subsequently caught Scorbunny. His goal went from not only just capturing Mew, but capturing every single Pokemon, working his way up to Mew. Now that's even more ambitious. That all being said, I'm not really a big fan of how it's being handled. I think the idea is great, the concept is great, but the execution has been poor so far in the series. In the very episode after establishing this new goal, Go proceeded to capture a bunch of bug Pokemon in Kanto. And he did it Pokemon Go style. Yeah, I don't like this at all. By trying to emulate Pokemon Go, this to me takes away from the hard work of earning a Pokemon's trust, how Ash used to do it in the past, and how he currently does it in Journeys before capturing the Pokemon, or just simply battling it and getting it that way, which Go has done a few times, but for the most part, he's catching it Pokemon Go style. It also bothers me when Go will either just approach a Pokemon, or they just appear right in front of him, and he immediately goes for the capture, which most of the time he gets on the first try, which doesn't usually happen in Pokemon Go, so that's a bit perplexing as well. Now, there have been a few times where Go has emulated Ash's past captures, where he earns a Pokemon's trust, and then they are willingly caught by Go. Notable examples of this happening off the top of my head is Cubone and Aerodactyl. And especially with Cubone, I like this capture a lot. However, due to the large amount of Pokemon that Go has now, Cubone has barely made any appearances in the show since its capture, which is very disappointing. Which this in of itself leads to another issue, Go's captures all fading into the background. Just like with Cubone, there are plenty other Pokemon that Go has caught that have pretty much faded in the background, or they don't really get that much screen time. They'll appear here and there, but they just don't get enough screen time, and this is a consequence of Go capturing all these Pokemon. There's just some of these Pokemon that are just not going to get much screen time at all, which is a bit disappointing. I understand that they can't do this considering the volume of Pokemon he's catching, but yeah, this causes a lot of issues, unfortunately. This, to me, is only going to get worse as Go continues to capture Pokemon as the series goes on. I'm hoping with us going into year 2 in this series, Go's goal will be refined a little bit so that it's not at all like this, or he just continuously rotates his team, or just does something to fix this, because his goal is interesting, but the execution so far needs work. Con number 4. Ash's Pokemon Screentime. Now I think we can all agree that Ash's captures themselves have all been great, and I mean all of them. That being said, there is an issue currently in the series with their screen time and how they're being utilized so far. So I think we can all agree that Riolu was a great addition to Ash's team, and its capture episode, well, I should say the episode where it hatched from its egg, was one of Journey's best episodes so far, if not the best episode. With all that said, Riolu has been hogging all the screen time away from Ash's other Pokemon besides Pikachu. Essentially, it's become the Pikachu and Riolu show. And since it appeared, Dragonite and Gengar have appeared a lot less frequently and haven't participated in as many battles as Riolu has. Especially ever since it started really getting into battles. Gengar especially hasn't really done a whole lot lately. It did participate very briefly in the Sword and Shield arc, but that's pretty much been about it. And besides that, its last battle, besides that, was in the Karina episode, and it took an L in that episode. So yeah. And then we have Galarian Farfetch'd, which, well, it's still very early, and this Pokemon was caught, I believe, in episode 27, I believe? Someone correct me in the comment section if that's wrong, but I believe it was episode 27. But so far, I haven't been very pleased with its low screen time so far. And I liked its introduction. It was very nice. I liked how it was taking Pokemon out left and right before it faced off against Ash and basically fought Riolu to a stalemate. That was pretty dope. But since then, it hasn't really done a whole lot. It was Riolu's punching bag in that one episode, and then it easily took an L in the battle against B, and that's pretty much been about it for Galarian Farfetch'd, and it didn't participate at all in the Sword and Shield arc, which was really disappointing considering this is a Pokemon from the Galar region. So hopefully in the future, this changes. Con number 5. Team Rocket's Gacha Machine. So I just wanted to cover this one really briefly. So for Team Rocket this series, instead of having Pokemon that they capture, just like 2 Pokemon or 3 Pokemon that they capture in this series and use as part of their team, Team Rocket are using this Gacha Machine that they got from Giovanni apparently, that will pull out random Pokemon for Jesse and James to use. Now way back when I made my episode 3 review, when this concept was first established, I was immediately 50-50 on it. On one hand, this lends to the unpredictability of journeys, as Team Rocket could pull out any Pokemon to battle for them, and this could lead to not only interesting battles, but it could put Ash and Go at a very big disadvantage, as they don't know what Pokemon Team Rocket will use, so they don't know what to expect. And that's pretty awesome in of itself. Now, while I see there's a lot of potential here for this to be very unpredictable and it could sway battles either way, on the other hand, I'm not a big fan of this concept at all. The one thing that I like about Team Rocket in each series is that while they are bad guys, they truly care and bond with the Pokemon that they capture in each region. In fact, this was one of the things that I liked the most about in their focus episodes in the past, and especially in Sun and Moon. All those episodes were great. And now that we have this Gacha Machine, we completely lose this aspect, and it just replaces it with random Pokemon that we most likely will never see again. So yeah, I'm not really too big of a fan of this. Okay, now that the pros and cons are done, I want to move into the final section of this video. So here I want to talk about what I want to see from this series moving into year 2, what I want to see change and improve. So we'll start off with number 1, which is a reduction in the episodic content in Pokemon Journeys. And I think we can all agree that getting rid of the episodic format in Journeys would be great, but I don't see the series removing this, or at least completely removing it. If anything, I would just like to see a reduction in the amount of episodic episodes that we get in Journeys. Leave the more episodic episodes to maybe at the lab in Kanto, Koharu episodes, or just something else. But yeah, just reduce it. Because I'd like to see more arcs in this series. Like, I'd love if some of the trips that we go to these regions get expanded into multiple episodes. Like, at least 2 episodes or more. Like, give me a 2-episode arc in Kalos. Maybe a 3-episode arc in Sinnoh. Or 4 episodes in Unova. The Sword and Shield arc gives me hope that we're going to see more arcs in the future. So that's a good thing. And speaking of arcs, number 2, an Isle of Armor and a Crown Tundra arc. Considering we just got an arc based around the main story in the Sword and Shield games, I'd expect arcs around the Isle of Armor and Crown Tundra to appear at some point, or happen at some point. Seeing how faithful the Sword and Shield arc was to the games, I wouldn't be surprised if these arcs are similar to their game counterparts, with some differences, of course. Like, imagine if we got Ash and Go going through the Isle of Armor, and they both get Cubfu. And they both evolve into Urshifu, and they're two different forms of Urshifu. That'd be pretty cool. Or we get to hang out with Peony in the Crown Tundra, and do that storyline with all the quests involved in the Crown Tundra. That would be pretty awesome, and I think these arcs would be a lot of fun. Number 3. Previous companions, rivals, and Pokemon returning to the series. Well, isn't this one obvious? Well, I'm personally expecting more past characters to show up in Journeys, especially in the next year. And for year 2, I'd like to see more notable characters show up. Like characters like Gary, Dawn, May, Serena, Iris, Alon, Paul, and the list goes on and on. I think any character returning would bring a ton of hype to the series, and would cause the series to trend worldwide and on Twitter. So let's make that happen. And the Alola gang has already made their return, so let's have more characters show up. But there was a certain member of the Alola gang that hasn't shown up yet, at least Ash hasn't reunited with this person. And speaking of this person, number 4, Lillie finding her father. Now this is an arc or a storyline that I'm expecting to see conclude within the second year of Pokemon Journeys, since it was teased in episode 37. With Lillie and her family on the verge of finding her father, yeah, I feel like this is going to happen very soon. While I'd rather it be done in a special episode, I feel like Journeys can squeeze this in somewhere. And I can say right now that when Lillie, Gladion, and Lusamine reunite with Moen, it's going to have massive payoff. There's been a lot of build up to this moment, and I definitely want to see it. I'm telling you guys right now, this is going to be a fantastic moment. If it's done right, the payoff is going to be one of the best in the entire Pokemon anime. I just want to see that right now. It's going to be amazing. Number 5, Grookey Gang! Yes, let's get Grookey sometime in year 2. Now, while I would love Ash to capture this Pokemon, I've come to the conclusion that Go is going to be the one to capture this Pokemon. As Ash's captures this time around in this series have been unconventional Pokemon that you wouldn't expect Ash to capture, but he's catching in this series. And I feel like Go is mainly promoting the new generation of players, like Pokemon Go players and people that are new to the series. And with him owning the starters for the Sword and Shield games, I just feel like he's basically promoting the new generation that way. And I don't think Ash is going to be representing them this time around. A little disappointing, but you know, who knows? Ash could end up catching this Pokemon. We'll just have to find out when Grookey debuts in Pokemon Journeys sometime in the future. Number 6. More Koharu screen time. Yes, guys, let's give our queen more screen time in year 2. She deserves it. Even though she just is a side character, I want to see more of her in the series. Even her VA in Japan wants her to have more screen time from what I understand. So hopefully she gets more of it once she catches Eevee. I just don't want her to disappear for like more than a couple episodes anymore. Please don't let that happen anymore. Queen doesn't need to be away for 4 to 5 episodes at a time. So give her more screen time, please. Number 7. More Dragonite, Gengar, and Galarian Farfetch'd screen time. And yes, please give these Pokemon more screen time, especially before Ash inevitably catches his 6th Pokemon. So now that Riolu is evolved in Lucario, and it's probably in the near future going to defeat B's Graplock so that Ash can finally defeat B in battle, these Pokemon definitely need more focus now, especially Gengar and Farfetch'd. Farfetch'd more than any of the Pokemon since Farfetch'd is representing Gen 8. And I definitely want to see these Pokemon get more screen time and participate in more battles in the Pokemon World Championships and take more W's. But more than anything, I can't wait for Farfetch'd to evolve into Sirfetch'd because, as you guys know, Sirfetch'd is one of, if not my favorite Gen 8 Pokemon. So I definitely want to see that moment. So hopefully in the near future, all these Pokemon get a lot more screen time. And when Farfetch'd evolves into Sirfetch'd, its disappointment so far in the series will be completely forgotten and all will be forgiven. So yeah. Number 8, the return of Ash's older Pokemon. This goes along with number 3, but I wanted to elaborate a little more on this one. So now, while I want Ash's current team to shine, I still want to see what his older Pokemon are up to or what they're doing at Oak's lab. Because, yeah, we kind of haven't seen, like, any of his Pokemon from Oak's lab yet in the series. We got to see his Alolan Pokemon when we went to Alola in episode 37, but we didn't get to see his older Pokemon at Professor Oak's lab, which is kind of a little annoying if you ask me. I kind of want to see some of them from time to time. Maybe he brings some of them back for battles in the Pokemon World Championships, because it'd be cool to see Pokemon like Bulbasaur in battle, Infernape, Hawlucha, and the list just goes on. I'd like to see these Pokemon in action again, because we haven't seen them in forever. And we could also see the return of a certain Pokemon that is currently cutting weeds in the Kalos region. But who knows, he may or may not make an appearance again. And lastly, number 9, improve Go's catches and usage of his Pokemon outside of the lab. Yeah, can we not have Go just throwing Pokeballs at random Pokemon and catching them on the first try, like 95% of the time? That gets kind of annoying after a while. Have Go's captures be more like Cubone or Aerodactyl, because those captures were awesome, and I want to see more of that. Also, I'd like to see Go rotate his party, like every time he goes on these trips with Ash. Because I hate how a lot of his Pokemon just kind of fade in the background. He catches them, and we only see them at the lab. So what I would love to see going forward, as we go on more and more trips, have Go rotate his party like all the time. Like, I know of course he's going to bring Cinderace and probably Sobble, but rotate it a bit more. You got 4 other slots. Rotate it between all the other Pokemon you have at the lab, because I want to see those Pokemon more and more in action. Alrighty guys, that's all I got for this video, and my goodness, what a long video, but it was worth it. I had a lot of fun making this video and coming up with the ideas for it. But the bottom line is, Pokemon Journeys, it's a very unique series, and it's very ambitious in what it tries to do, and I appreciate the series for that reason. However, there are a couple things in the series that are holding it back from being a truly amazing series, in my opinion. So, I'm going to give an overall rating for Pokemon Journeys. So, the overall rating that I'm going to give Pokemon Journeys first year is a 6.5 out of 10. So hopefully going into year 2, things start to improve a little bit, and Pokemon Journeys learns from its flaws and improves upon them. So anyways guys, in the comment section down below, I'm going to be challenging you all. I want you all to list at least 3 pros and 3 cons for this series, and then 1 or 2 things you'd like to see moving on to year 2. So again, 3 pros, 3 cons, and then maybe 1 or 2 things you want to see going into year 2. Anyways guys, that's all I got. If you're new to the channel, be sure to like and subscribe, hit that notification bell, and I'll talk to you all later. You all stay safe out there, and have a good day or night wherever you're at. I'll talk to you all later. Peace.